So, look, all I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have, because we won the state.
The big lie that Donald Trump actually won the 2020 election, but it was stolen from him, didn't just tell itself. It was a lie invented and spread by Donald Trump and his co-conspirators designed to defraud the United States public into believing that our elections aren't legitimate and that the public should rise up and forcefully demand the overturn of a free and fair election. That lie eventually led to the violent attack at our nation's capital on January 6, 2021. And if you're still telling yourself that January 6 was just a protest that got out of hand, this video isn't for you, so bye-bye now. But if you live in the real world and felt something snap in you that day, something American, something sacred, then you already know we've never truly dealt with what we all saw happen that day. January 6th was an assault on the United States of America, an act of insurrection, and I am tired of pretending that it wasn't. And to be sure that there isn't any ambiguity in my words, the attack on the Capitol does not happen without Donald Trump, his co-conspirators, and the big lie. Trump wasn't just a bystander to the absolute shit show that happened that day. He was the architect. He told his supporters again and again that the 2020 election was stolen, even when every court, every advisor, and every fact told him that he was wrong. He kept lying. Trump lit the match, he poured the gas, and he sat back and watched it all burn for as long as he could. The attack on our Capitol lasted for nearly 4 hours before Trump called in the National Guard. He watched as police officers fought for democracy and their lives. And here's the part that pisses me off the most. The people who helped spread that lie, people like Fox News, Rudy Giuliani, Mike Lindell, Sidney Powell, Jenna Ellis, and even Trump's own Attorney General Bill Barr have now admitted under oath in court or in official proceedings that they had no evidence, or even worse, that they knew they were telling a lie. Insurrection is defined as a violent uprising against an authority or government. It's specifically called out in our Constitution as a way to stop anyone who committed the act against our country from holding public office. We all watched it happen on live TV, and it all started because of one big lie, which is why this video is called MAGA's Big Lie Caused an Insurrection. He knew it was a lie. He told it anyways. Donald Trump planted the seed the moment he realized he was going to lose. On November 4th, 2020, just after 2 a.m., he stood at a podium and told the country,
"We were getting ready to win this election. Frankly, we did win this election.
But he hadn't. He knew he hadn't, and he said it anyways. Because for Donald Trump, losing doesn't just mean defeat. Losing, especially losing publicly, hits Donald Trump in that childhood trauma wound that's so deep into his soul, the one that he refuses to go to therapy to help resolve. Losing meant humiliation, and a narcissist cannot accept humiliation. And when backed into a corner, a narcissist only knows one thing to help get them out of it: to lie. So, Taco went to work. In the weeks after the election, Trump pushed the lie with everything he had. During press briefings, late night Twitter rants, his rallies, he flooded the country with one message: the 2020 election was stolen. And his campaign did everything they could to find even the smallest irregularities and twist them into full-blown conspiracies, something that would eventually come back to haunt them. According to internal Trump team memos uncovered during the January 6th committee hearing, their strategy was knowingly not based on factual evidence, but instead, their goal was to simply undermine the public's trust. They had already started a plan to discredit the results of the election while votes were still being counted. But it wasn't just the public Trump was trying to manipulate. It was every single person around him. At the start of this video, I played you a quick piece of audio. That was Trump talking on the phone with Georgia's Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, a call that holds the biggest evidence that Trump was the one trying to steal the election. I just want to find 11,780 votes. Not count, not recount, find. He threatened Georgia's Secretary of State to play ball.
And I watched you this morning, and you said Well, there was no criminality, but I mean, all of this stuff is very dangerous stuff. When you talk about no criminality, I think it's very dangerous for you to say that.
He pressured the Department of Justice to publicly declare the election corrupt, saying,
He responded very quickly and said, essentially, that's not what I'm asking you to do. What I'm just asking you to do is just say it was corrupt and leave the rest to me and the Republican congressman.
he called state legislators, he begged, he threatened, he demanded, and the whole time he was telling lies, people in his orbit were sharing the facts over and over and over again. From November to January, Trump's own advisors, his cabinet members, White House counsel, and campaign lawyers told him directly there was no fraud. Bill Barr, his own attorney general, told him to his face that his claims were bullshit. The Department of Homeland Security publicly declared the 2020 election the most secure in American history. Everyone close to Trump, everyone who had access to the facts, said the same thing. You lost, buddy. Stop being a fucking baby about it. But Trump didn't care, and he didn't stop either, because what's true has never or will ever matter to Donald J. Trump. The only thing that mattered was what he could get away with. He pushed Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell to the forefront of the lie, even after they were repeatedly laughed out of courtrooms. The fascist propaganda wing of the GOP, Fox News, and other right-wing media outlets did their absolute best to help amplify the lies to their audience, while they were calling it insane in private messages to each other. But the more they repeated it publicly, the more his supporters believed it. Trump and his team did their absolute best, and millions of Americans had been radicalized by a lie that Trump knew was false from the very beginning, a lie he built, one that he pushed and he sold, regardless of how many people told him to stop. But it's the events of January 6th that bring us together today. The big lie had grown legs and was spreading like wildfire through MAGA land. All Trump needed to do was light the match. And light the match, he did. The insurrection, based on a lie. So, the big lie has legs now. MAGA was foaming at the lips and ready to fuck shit up. And on December 19th, 2020, Trump gave them a date to rally around. Big protest in DC on January 6th. Be there. Will be wild. He talks like a child. But what an invitation, right? And best believe that for weeks, he and his allies hyped this rally as some kind of last stand. He told his supporters that the system has failed. He told them that the courts were corrupt, and he told them that the evidence was overwhelming, going as far to say that all Mike Pence has to do is send them back to the states and we win. Do it, Mike. This is a time for extreme courage. And when the time came, Taco didn't try to calm the crowd. He threw gas on the fire.
All of us here today do not want to see our election victory stolen by emboldened radical left Democrats, which is what they're doing, and stolen by the fake news media. That's what they've done and what they're doing. We will never give up. We will never concede. It doesn't happen. You don't concede when there's theft involved. And after this, we're going to walk down and I'll be there with you.
Yep, he told them that he would be there right with them, but he wasn't. Because the Secret Service knew exactly what was about to happen and could not allow the President of the United States to participate. And yeah, by that point, the writing was on the walls. Intelligence agencies, including the FBI and Homeland Security, had flagged a massive amount of threats in the weeks leading up to January 6th. Online posts calling for violence, tips about armed insurrectionists planning to storm the Capitol, and even warnings that some groups intended to literally kill people. Senior officials asked for extra security. Even Trump's own staff warned him that things would get ugly. But despite all of this, the government failed to act or even share much of this intelligence. And Trump himself did not deploy the National Guard to beef up protection, and he didn't tell the crowd to stand down. Of course, he let it all happen. For nearly 4 hours, Trump watched the attack unfold in silence. While police were beaten, windows were smashed, and lawmakers literally ran for their lives, people begged for Trump to do something, and he did nothing. The attack on our nation's capital was not just a protest that got out of hand. It was coordinated. The Proud Boys and Oath Keepers were already at the Capitol before Trump even finished speaking. They led formations, they broke through the few barricades that were set up, and they called the shots. They came with tactical gear and battle plans. Gallows were built outside. Pipe bombs were planted nearby. Hey, Thanks, Marjorie Taylor Greene. And about 140 officers were injured, one of whom died the following day from a stroke, with 4 more ending their lives in the aftermath. The party of law and order, Blue Lives Matter, don't tread on me, it's all talk. It's bullshit propaganda sold to people who can't see the leopards coming to eat their own faces. And Trump, he still refuses to condemn the attackers. To this day, he still calls them patriots, even though he's convicted of conspiring against the United States or assaulting police officers. He made pardoning them a campaign promise, and now that he's back in office, he followed through, rewarding the very people who attacked our country in his name. The fallout, who paid the price, who didn't, and why America brought Trump back. The big lie didn't just end with January 6th. It left a trail of shattered trust, broken institutions, and a country even more divided than ever. In the aftermath, a handful of Trump's loudest co-conspirators faced some real consequences. Jenna Ellis, one of Trump's campaign lawyers, was publicly censured for knowingly spreading false claims about the election. Sidney Powell, another Trump lawyer and conspiracy theorist, pled guilty in Georgia for her role in trying to overturn the results. Rudy Giuliani, yet another Trump lawyer and dripping ball of hair dye, was disbarred for his repeated lies, faces criminal charges for his part in the fake electoral scheme, and was forced to pay $146 million to the 2 women at the center of the stuffed ballot box lie. Fox News was forced to pay nearly $800 million to settle a defamation suit for knowingly airing false claims about the Dominion voting systems. Even Mike Lindell, the fucking MyPillow guy, is now on trial for defamation. And guess what? His lawyers say that they will not be providing any evidence that the 2020 election was stolen, because they don't have any, because it wasn't. But let's be honest. The most guilty of them, the ones who orchestrated, amplified, and benefited the most from the big lie, those people escaped real accountability. Donald Trump was impeached twice. I mean, who's counting? But ultimately, he was acquitted by the GOP majority. He did face state and federal charges for his role in trying to overturn the election, but the legal process was dragged out of fear that the Democrats would look like they were hunting a political opponent, and Trump's ability to use his massive wealth to throw every single roadblock he could at the system to slow it down. And yeah, while a few lawyers and media figures lost their licenses or paid a bunch of money, most of Trump's inner circle simply just moved on, rebranding themselves as victims or some kind of martyrs for the cause. But it's us, the American people, that I'm most frustrated with. Despite everything we know, 2 impeachments, the insurrection, criminal indictments, convicted of 37 felony counts, and a legacy of lies, Trump won the 2024 election. Why? Well, some people say they believe that Trump will be better for the economy, inflation, or immigration. Others simply bought what he was selling. Victims of MAGA propaganda, they believed that the system was actually rigged, or that the prosecutions were politically motivated, or that Trump was sent by Yeshua himself. A poll from 2023 showed that 70% of Republicans still believe the 2020 election was stolen, despite all of the evidence to the contrary. 70% of those people believed that the election was stolen. 70% is wild, right? But Trump's base, they never, ever wavered, and his bitching and moaning about how everyone is so mean to him was enough to carry him back into power. I mean, what is wrong with us? You know, I had a friend of mine tell me a couple weeks ago that they didn't know Trump pardoned the January 6th attackers. And I don't even bring that up to dog them or anyone else who didn't know that, but it makes me wonder why. With all of the things that we're obsessed with in our daily life, why don't we know the bare minimum of what's happening in our country? You don't need to be perpetually online to keep up. Find a news source that you trust, an actual news source, not just some dude screaming into a microphone. And yes, that includes me too. Find a news source that you trust and spend 15 minutes a day reading through the news. Here's a handy chart to help you find a news source that either matches or challenges your own personal bias. 15 minutes a day. That seems like a fair ask, because the next big lie thrives on us having no idea what's actually happening in our country. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, you will love my last one breaking down some of Trump's cabinet and how our federal government has become a complete clown show. But until next time, peace, love, and remember, we're only human.